Unlike every other pundit alive, I have waited a few days following the horrific mass shooting at the Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis, Minnesota, to give my thoughts. I did this for two reasons. First, just out of respect for the dead and the grieving. And second, because every other pundit has the solution 100% wrong. Welcome to the Free Thought Frontier, and I'm your host, Bill Stone. Following Robert Westman's deadly escapade at the Annunciation Catholic School, and I refuse to affirm his delusion that he was a woman named Robin, I have listened to every single nitwit with a platform on the right and the left get the solution to this problem completely and 100% wrong. Again. The left, as usual, is calling for total victim disarmament. Victim disarmament is the correct term for gun control. The right, as usual, is calling for more armed guards at churches and schools, metal detectors, and preventative intervention of the mentally ill, essentially continuing to turn what's left of a free country into a police state. Both the left and the right, they love police states. They just disagree on what freedoms should be crushed under whose boots. But they're both wrong. Or should I say they're all wrong? I have yet to see anyone get it right. You, my friends, are going to hear the sole and only solution to this problem that works, has always worked, and will always work. It doesn't involve the curtailing of rights of innocent people. It doesn't involve turning the nation into a police state. It's very, very simple. I've been saying it since 9/11. Enforce the Second Amendment. It is the constitutionally protected birthright of every man, woman, and responsible child in the United States to go armed, openly or concealed, anywhere they want. That includes schools, churches, airports, and airplanes. If that one simple thing were done, most mass shooters wouldn't even try. They would know in advance that they wouldn't make it very far before they were annihilated in a hail of lead from unknown directions. If they tried, they wouldn't create many victims before being annihilated in a hail of lead from unknown directions. If the Second Amendment had been enforced on 9/11, the Twin Towers would still be standing. Even if the would-be hijackers had guns, they would have been annihilated in a hail of lead from unknown directions. No metal detectors, no guards, nothing. Just citizens, armed and able to fight back. Remember this well, for they are universal truths. Gun control is victim disarmament. If you're in favor of victim disarmament, that means that you would rather see a woman raped, strangled to death with her own pantyhose, and her body dumped in an alley, rather than see her with a gun in her hand. What sort of person does that make you? That answer is simple. Stupid, insane, evil, or all three. You take your pick. Stupid, insane, evil, or all three. Once again, because I learned when I was teaching, you always have to say it 3 times. You are stupid, insane, evil, or all three. Now I can hear some of you cowards out there whining, but Bill, everybody had guns, then Karens would be dying in droves. The streets would be anarchy. No, they wouldn't. We know because when I was born, owning and carrying a gun wasn't particularly difficult. They sold them to mail through the Sears catalog. You could carry them on airplanes. Now, you might be asked by a flight attendant if you wanted to stow your long gun up front with the coats so that it wouldn't get damaged. But that was all. There was no chaos. There was no anarchy. As Robert A. Heinlein noted in Beyond This Horizon, in the first place, an armed society is a polite society. Now, as a personal observation, I'll reiterate the story of the one and hopefully only time that I had to brandish my sidearm. It occurred only a month or so ago. You see, I live in the small-town tourist trap of Wall, South Dakota, USA. The resident population is only about 700, so the U.S. Postal Service can't justify the cost of curbside delivery of mail. So consequently, we each have a post office box that's located at the post office in Main Street. And it's essentially across the street from the world-famous Wall drugstore, our tourist trap and the only reason that thousands of tourists pass through town every single day during tourist season. So one day, I parked in front of the post office as usual, stepped out of the car. Well, across the street, near Wall Drug, a tourist was screaming at the top of his lungs. It was largely unintelligible, but he could be heard from like a block away. So being the concerned resident, I wondered if he wasn't in some kind of distress. And so I crossed the street to see what was happening. And suddenly he bellowed at the top of his lungs, "That's it! I'm going to kill him! I'm going to beat the shit out of him!" And he proceeded to make a run at a pair of older tourists. He made a straight beeline towards them. I've never seen anybody that fat run that fast. By the time he started his run, I had just stepped onto the curb. He was just about to run past me when I held up my hand and commanded, "Stop!" in my best stage voice. He didn't stop. I stepped between he and the tourist. I lifted my T-shirt. I have an outside-the-waistband holster so I don't have to go digging around in my pants to draw. I placed my hand on the butt of my Sig Sauer P365 9mm pistol. I thumbed off the safety, and then I said, "Don't make any foolish decisions." He stopped. He looked at me with this rage in his face, and he said, "What are you going to do, shoot me?" And I said, "Only if you make it necessary." We looked at each other for a few seconds, and then he turned and went back to his car. I thumbed the safety back on and pulled down my T-shirt. I asked the tourists what it was all about. They said that they'd exited Wall Drug at about the same time as him. They saw him go to a van with several dogs in it. It was about 85 degrees out, and it was like 11 a.m., and all the windows in the van were rolled up. God knows what the inside temperature was, probably 100, 110 degrees even. So they admonished him that he should keep a window cracked for the dogs. And that was apparently all they said. There was no confrontation nor screaming back and forth. The guy just went nuts. Now, I don't know if there would have been any problems had I not been there to defuse the situation. I just know that my little Sig Sauer P365 defused the situation. And that scales up. If the men, women, and yes, responsible children of the Annunciation Catholic School had been armed, as is their constitutionally protected birthrights as Americans, then Robert Westman wouldn't have been found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot. He'd have been found dead from a variety of gunshots created by his intended victims. If the men, women, and yes, responsible children of American Airlines Flights 11 and 77 and United Airlines Flights 175 and 93 had been armed, as is their constitutionally protected birthrights as Americans, then more than 3,000 people would still be alive today. The children that they never had would be alive today, and the Twin Towers would still be standing. The only dead people would be 11 hijackers. The United States would not have become a surveillance state. There had been no Iraq war nor everything that followed. The Middle East would still enjoy a somewhat fragile stability. And all of that because 4 planes full of victims had been unconstitutionally disarmed. If we want to avoid more mass shootings and more wars and the police state, the solution is simple: enforce the Second Amendment. That's all I have to say about that. I'd love to keep the conversation going, so please do like, sub, hit the notification bell, and drop me a comment or two, and share me on social media. And tell all of your friends, family, neighbors, pets, and livestock to do the same. If you'd like to follow me on X, I am at SYL Ranch. So, thanks for watching The Free Thought Frontier. And I'm your host, Bill Stone.
Ultimate power in this world has always been one simple thing: the control and manipulation of minds.